kid from the bush who grew into a legend in his own lunchtime, former SAS soldier Michael J. Malone has seen it all. This is Never Die Wondering, Mick Malone in his own words, hosted by the man himself, Mick Malone, along with Toby Malone, as they examine this long, storied career in the Australian Special Forces. Join us each week for behind-the-scenes insight, exclusive readings, and brutally honest truths from a true original. Welcome to Never Die Wondering. Welcome to episode 2 of Never Die Wondering, Mick Malone in his own words, a podcast that explores the life and legend of Michael John Malone, OAM. My name is Toby Malone, Mick's son and co-host of this podcast series, joined by the man whose name is in the title, Mick Malone. Hi, Dad.
G'day, mate. You're such a...
What? This is how it goes. I'm That's all right. I'm very glad to be here with you and to finally nail you down to get to talk a little bit about your work in this podcast format, which I quite enjoy. And even though you're reluctant, I'm glad to have you along.
Glad to be here, mate.
Good. So this episode, in last week's episode, we talked about, gave you a bit of introduction to you and to the things that we're planning to do in this podcast. This week, we're getting straight into Two Ranks on the Road, 35 years of Australian Special Forces services, a book that was published by Imprimatur Books in 2024 and is still available for purchase at all of your reputable books retailers and ebook retailers. We recommend buying it off Mick Malone's website through Imprimatur Books or at Boffin's Books in Perth if you're there. You can also get it from the 964 at Campbell Barracks and also online. Plenty of different ways of getting hold of Two Ranks on the Road. And given its current success, I think there's probably going to be another printing coming. What do you reckon? I think we're on our third printing now.
Yeah. No, it's gone very well, unbelievably. The production is really what appeals to me.
Yes, absolutely.
It's a beautifully produced book. Heavy, it weighs a kilo.
Mm-hmm.
It's got these photos of this amazing idiot. But lots of good photos, and they're all signed.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's been a bit of a labor of love. The whole family pitched in to get it all up and running. My sainted mother, Jo Malone, who's buzzing around in the background there somewhere.
She's the publisher.
So she's the publisher, and she's really the driving force behind it. And then I served as editor, and so I edited the thing, and I also indexed it within an inch of its life. I'm sure we'll talk about. We'll spend an entire episode just talking about the index. Maybe that was my big contribution.
Never been an index as complex as this.
Yeah, I'm sure that there are indexers out there who would look at it and say this is too much of an index. So I essentially wanted to index it as much as I could, and then. And then it was published, self-published through Imprimatur Books, but it's not, like you say, it's not like the traditional self-published. A lot of people will hear about self-publish and think, oh, well, it's poor quality, or it's bad paper, or it's full of errors, or it looks strange on the page, because a lot of self-published things come in a print-on-demand format. We didn't want to do that.
It covers all the ground. It's probably the best produced book I've seen for quite a long time.
Yeah.
Our printers are just fantastic.
Yes. Do you want to shout out the printers? Who prints the book?
Imprint.
Imprint. Yeah, Imprint in Perth. We'll make sure we link to that in the show notes. If anyone's interested in some excellent work, then the work at Imprint is top notch, and they do a lot of work in terms of the design and setting up the pagination and putting it all together. It's all very very impressive work.
Yeah, data documents and Imprint.
Yeah, and so we've been really lucky to work with them, and then people have been really enjoying the book. So the process, we talked a little bit last week about the process of writing the book. How did it feel to drag up all of those old memories and write them all down from your 35 years in the Special Forces?
People say to me, "How do you remember this stuff, Malone?" I said, "I don't. I just make it up."
I don't think
And
you which a caveat, like I don't think you make it all up.
no, I don't. I don't really. I think most of the memories in there are fairly true.
hmm
It's just I have a prodigious memory,
Yep.
and not of what happened yesterday. I don't know what I had for breakfast yesterday, but if it comes to 40 years ago, I remember everyone on my selection course. Um, I remember all the staff on the selection course and who was yelling two ranks on the road and who was letting off the explosives in the morning to get us out of bed, and all that stuff. I remember all that.
Right. Yeah.
Uh, at the end of the day, it's memories a tricky thing. But people say, "Oh, that did happen that way, Mick. I remember. I was there." And I said, "Yep, you were.
Yeah.
I don't remember you being there."
Well, it's important though to write this stuff down while you've got that in your memory because
Yeah, but I
once it,
never ever did. I never wrote it down
yeah, yeah. Well,
until then.
you're
Until we
very
did.
lucky. You're very lucky that you're in your 70s and able to sort of still put it all together. And with that, which is why at the moment we're all pushing very hard to make sure these projects
Yeah,
are sort of suspended in amber so that we have that for the future generations. You have two grandchildren who are both teenagers and so yeah, if anyone who doesn't know me, I live in Canada, so I'm in Toronto. I've been here for 25 years, and I talk to the family every day back home in Perth. But my kids idolize you and your career, and so getting a chance to write it all down so that they can read about it in the future it's so important.
I love them dearly, and it's nice to hear that they consider my work. What, a woman creeping around in the background here.
That's all right. Don't get just keep going.
Your kids are fantastic, and they're bright as one watt bulbs, of course.
They're a bit brighter than that. Uh,
Yeah, yeah.
but yeah,
No,
but so having these opportunities and so writing this stuff down, and my son Cormac, who's nearly 16, did a recent school project on the Vietnam War and put together a diorama and interviewed you and used two ranks as a reference point and displayed it in his history class and did very, very well. He won third prize in the history fair at his school
excellent.
because of the work that of being able to talk to you and being able to talk about your career. So yeah, so it's great to have it, and obviously, one thing we'll always say is that Two Ranks on the Road is not a complete account. There's stuff that's omitted. There's stuff that's omitted because it's classified, or stuff that's omitted because it would embarrass people involved. We've got really worked pretty hard to not embarrass someone for doing something stupid or to call someone out for a behavior that maybe would be problematic later on. And the idea was always to make sure that you put together the best possible um, look because and it's just your memory of it all. So it's certainly not encyclopedic or comprehensive, but it certainly gives you a really good taste of what a career in the military was, particularly your time in the bush when you were serving in Vietnam and you're on patrol. So having those kinds of memories is so invaluable.
Yeah, I must admit, reading back through it every so often, I grab a chapter and haul through it, thinking, "Oh my God, it happened like that."
Yeah,
And some of the Vietnam things, which I haven't put in the book, only because they're too painful.
yeah,
But not too bad though, not compared to some other people's experiences. But my experiences were, I was only a kid, only 20 years old, um, so with no idea about anything. Um, I was used to say full of piss and bad manners.
Hmm.
That was it.
Yeah.
You need to be young to do that stuff. If you're young, you can get away with it. If you're older, you're smarter. If a bloke your age tried to do that stuff, you'd say to yourself, "Oh no,
Yeah.
I'm not going to do it because that's stupid."
Yeah.
And stupidity goes with youth. But that's it. And my father went through the same thing in World War II. Never wrote anything down, of course. Um,
Yeah.
it was funny. He
Yeah.
always talked to Brooke. And then I did some research many years later and worked out he was never at Tobruk. He didn't
Right.
even arrive in the Middle East till after the siege was lifted.
Yeah.
But he was at the Battle of Alamein. He got wounded there. Um, and he came home and met my mother at a dance, stomping all over her feet with hobnail boots.
Well, and
He said, I'm going to
eh,
marry you.
yeah.
Nah.
Well, and we cover that in Hail Mary the Creek's Up,
Yeah.
which is the childhood memoir, which we'll get to in a matter of time. But he was never a scoundrel. He was never claiming. It was never stolen valor to say that, he was at
Ah,
Tobruk. He was certainly there or thereabouts. He just wasn't in the famous battle. He was there in he was reinforcement.
yeah, well, he hadn't arrived in the Middle East at that stage.
Yeah, but he was still involved with the Second 13
Oh,
Battalion
yeah.
Association, who claimed a lot of their significance based on their involvement in the Battle of Tobruk.
Yeah, no, he was well known and well loved by his mates. Um, and they're all some serious scoundrels amongst that lot. But
Hmm.
they were good soldiers, the Second, 13th Battalion.
Yeah.
And,
So.
the bloke who wrote the book, um, Bayonets Abroad, which was
Hmm.
the history of the Second, 13th Battalion, um, Fernside, he was a mate of Dad's. Um, and
Hmm.
Dad's brother was also in the same mob. They had a thing called claiming.
Yeah.
They claim the relatives. And
Well,
Jimmy served with him and then served on.
yeah. So what we read at the beginning of Two Ranks in the Road, which we'll get to soon, is that you were sort of almost going to follow in those footsteps. You weren't really sure what you were going to do with your life, and then you decided it was the Battle of Long Tan that really kicked you into action, and the death of a local bloke that you knew growing up in that battle. Um, that
Paul
you and
Martin.
Paul Large, yeah, who died from Kula, right? Who died in that battle, and then you and a bunch of mates from work decided that you were going to go down to the recruiting office and get in there. But you had an obstacle before you got which was your father.
I'm not signing that.
So yeah, that's one of those the famous stories from the beginning of the book to get you into your military service with and we'll follow along with that story. But and then who could have known at that time where it would take you? It would take you not just to training and learning how to become a soldier, building on your cadets work and things like that, and having grown up in the bush. But you meet these recruiters who talk to you about this mob over in Western Australia. You'd never left New South Wales at that point. And suddenly you find yourself on a train to Western Australia, and then you're on the Carter course in Collie in southwest Western Australia. And then you join the regiment, then you're off in Vietnam, and then suddenly you're in the bush getting shot at. It's an amazing sort of progression, and so and the front cover of Two Ranks on the Road is probably the most famous photo that'll ever be taken of you. Which in this non-visual medium, it's I describe it. It's a black and white photo of a young man looking fairly haunted with a cigarette in his mouth, having gone through some trauma. So can you tell us about that cover image, about what was going through your mind. So you were 22 years old. You just arrived back from a patrol.
We
What?
just got, we just got our arse shot off, as it were, as we used to say.
Yeah,
We landed at NADZAB chopper pad, and we'd cleared our weapons, and all the blokes who were waiting for us milled around. One bloke with a camera. That's where that photograph came from, and we're having a bit of a yarn. In that photograph, I'm unloading magazine, taking the bullets out of a magazine, and just basically breathing, thinking, "My God." And we were very lucky. We should have lost people on that patrol, but we didn't. And that was the nature of our operations. We did some hairy stuff, and we should have lost people. We didn't.
yeah, yeah. It's
Maybe,
and that patrol and that action is covered in the book in some detail about how you were all dragged out by hot extraction
yeah.
and you really really came pretty close. And so that photo is kind of iconic, and that's you'll see that all over the place anywhere that there's a reference to Mick Malone. That photo is not far behind. It's fine. We can all dream to have as good a photo of that taken of us as that one at some time in our lives. So
Yeah,
it's
well, it'll be my legacy, I suppose.
yep,
Uh,
yep. But yeah, so we have two ranks on the road, and the plan is to over the next few months is to read it, and we're gonna. So I'll do the reading because you said no, I don't want to read it. So I said, all right, okay, I'll read it for you, and then you can
I'll read it. I'll read
interject.
it.
Yeah, okay, maybe we'll take some turns reading through. And yeah, that's a surprise to me because listener, this is the first time he said he would read it. So if so I'm very happy to see the reading to you if you want if we hear it in your voice. But
Well,
um,
I don't want you to talk like James Joyce.
so so the plan is to read this through and to sort of give a little bit of context as we go. Um, and yeah, the reception to the book has been outstanding. I think it's been well regarded. We've been featured in the Australian and the West Australian and ABC News. Um, Lots of different perspectives on this book, and a lot of readers have come back, and a lot of people saying that this has been the most in-depth account of an Australian
Yeah.
soldier in patrol in Vietnam that we have, which is amazing. I mean, and it's just a real testament to what it is, and lots of really great testimonials on the back of the book from different kinds of soldiers and great men who have served with you and around you or have come after you. That's one of the big things that you'll note. We've noticed in selling this book is that it's the blokes who were diggers when you were at Duntroon, for example, who are now very, very high up in the military, who are running the show. Guys who you coached in the fourth grade Duntroon rugby team, and then now are are way up the ladder, and they look back and they say it was the influence of Mick Malone that made a difference, and so
I had a bit
that's
of influence.
yeah, and so that the mentorship is one of the great legacies. I think the fact that you were able to mentor a lot of these blokes at Campbell Barracks and at the One Commando in Randwick and at Duntroon, all over the place, wherever you went, and so that mentorship means.
Your memory is prodigious, you know.
Well, that's okay. I'm a young man, so I've plenty of space to remember all this sort of stuff. And of course, the reason part of the reason I'm here getting this going is that I lived it my whole life. I lived on bases and in married quarters with my family, getting posted all over Australia, and so it's a real. It was very much mine and my sister's lives of uh, of watching this career progress, and so it's
An
been
army brat.
Yeah, we were army brats in certain ways. We used to always march on ANZAC Day with you, go to dawn service, lots of really important things, and so this was sort of central to our lives. And so that's part of the reason why I thought it was important to get this podcast going. Um, so just a reminder, if you're interested in getting the book, you can go to mickmalone.com.au. There's a link in the show notes to go and get a copy. You can get it as an ebook on Booktopia or Amazon or anywhere you get your ebooks. So you can get physical copies that will be signed and sent to you. Or you can get that ebook version. So plenty of different places to get that book. And if you're interested in following along as we read, that's a pretty good way to do so. So that's the plan. We're going to be reading Two Ranks on the Road, 35 Years of Australian Special Forces Services, and we'll do that over the next. And so we're going to be releasing an episode each week, and episodes will be available on Spotify and on Apple Music or Apple Podcasts, and everywhere where you would get your podcasts. So that's it. How are you feeling about this process, Dan? How are you feeling?
Mate, I can't believe it. You could be so sort of full on all the time. It must be the genes.
It could be. It could be. I'm sure it's all inherited from my mother.
Yeah, no.
Well, she's pretty full on.
I was thinking of the other connection, the Malone connection.
Yeah.
No,
No.
we were a bunch of no hopers, the Malones, compared to
Oh,
your
that's
other
not
side
true.
of the family who did stuff.
Well, I think the Malones have plenty to hang their hats on, and so there's some pretty impressive people. Like my grandfather, your father, um, growing up in the bush and shearing sheep and doing what it needed to be done for his family. I think that's pretty impressive as well. I don't think it has to be about publishing books and conquering the world.
Yeah.
I think there's a
Oh,
great deal to be said about a humble, simple life where people are doing what they have to do. And ever since the Malones arrived in Australia in the 1840s, coming from the potato famine in Ireland, um, uh, the Malones have done pretty well. So we've got some
yeah.
plenty
We
to
get
hang our hats on.
the next generation will carry it on.
Yeah, yeah, that's the plan.
And your brilliant children will be absolute
Yeah,
credit to us all.
yeah, absolutely. All right, so that is all the time we have this week for Never Die Wondering. Join us next week for the next installment in our exploration of Mick Malone's career as we get into the book itself, starting with the front matter. If you have a copy of Two Ranks, read along with us. I've been Toby Malone, and thank you to Mick Malone for enthusiastically joining me on this journey. Thanks, Dad.
Good on you, mate.
This has been Never Die Wondering, Mick Malone in his own words. For links to purchase your own copies of Mick's books, visit the show notes or mickmalone.com.au. This podcast is produced by Toby Malone, Joe Malone, and Mick Malone, and engineered by Toby Malone. Theme music is The Happy Wanderer, the official SAS march, as reimagined by Cormac Malone and Meg Logue Malone. Yes, this is a family affair. This is a GM production in association with Imprimatur Books.